and welcome back to my doll collecting channel. Today we're going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that I see people do with their American Girl dolls. The first mistake I see people do is not using the proper hairbrush for an American Girl and not brushing the hair properly. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a wire brush like this one. I have the Maple Leaf Girl brush from a few years ago, but American Girl has one that is very similar. I don't know if you heard that, but that was the sound of all of my dolls falling on the floor. Oh no, not Mary Grace. I love Mary Grace. And Kirsten. So you're gonna need a hairbrush that has the wire bristles there. Though that is very important because if you use plastic, it's just gonna pull on the doll's hair and the hair is gonna fall out and it's just nasty. So you're gonna want a wire brush, and you can get, sometimes I've seen people use like pet brushes, but you can get official ones from American Girl, Our Generation, Maple Leaf. You can get brushes like this. Since Nenea's hair is in braids, I'm going to be showing you on Mary Ellen, and what you have to do is you have to start at the bottom and slowly work your way up. And if you do it the other way, if you start at the top and push down, it's just pushing all the knots in the hair down, and it's gonna cause the hair to pull, and then you're gonna lose a lot of doll hair. And it doesn't take very long of you doing it incorrectly for the hair to turn out terribly. So you really need to make sure that you're brushing the doll's hair properly by starting at the bottom and then slowly working your way up at the top. Don't start at the top and push your way down. Not good. The next tip I have that I see people doing all the time is leaving their American Girls in a hot car. Now, American Girls are made out of vinyl, which is a type of plastic, and if you leave a doll in the car, especially the newer ones, they will over time melt. So if you leave a doll in your car for an extended period of time, for a few hours, then you come back, it's gonna smell like a melting candle in your car. It's gonna smell like wax because your doll is melting. This is especially a new, like, it happens to older dolls, but it's increasingly happening with the newer dolls from American Girl. So make sure you're not leaving your doll in a hot car. And then also there's the possibility of people stealing your American Girl, which also wouldn't be fun. So if you do have to leave your American Girl in a car for a little while, make sure you cover them with a blanket so nobody sees that you have an American Girl in your car. And then also it protects it from direct sunlight as well. And that's another tip that I forgot to write down, but it's really important. Don't leave your American Girls in direct sunlight. If it's an older doll, it can give your doll silver eye, which is when the eye gets damaged and it loses all color and it just reveals the metal of the eye, which is not fun. It is fixable, but it's a long process. You have to remove the eyes from the head and then take the eye apart and paint it. It's just not fun. So don't leave your dolls in direct sunlight because it can change the color of their vinyl, change their hair, ruin their eyes. So don't have a display right in front of a window. The next tip I have is never to swing your American Girl by their arms or legs. So never carry your doll like this. Always carry your doll by the stomach. Sometimes I pick it up from their neck, but that's only in very specific circumstances because you can get oil on their cheeks, and over time it can, you know, get rid of the face paint, make them dirty. So don't grab them too much by their face. Oh, this is the best bet, to grab them by their waist. But if you have a doll display like mine, I sometimes grab them by the neck, which doesn't sound very nice at all, but it's sometimes what you got to do if you have lots of dolls. So, but I wouldn't do that too often because your oils from your hand can ruin the vinyl over time and make them really dirty. Next, never put your doll near water or sand, and this is surprising for a lot of people because American Girl sells swimsuits. A lot of these 18-inch doll brands sell swimsuits for American Girl dolls, and that doesn't make a lot of sense because you're not supposed to put them near water, because if you get water in their eyes won't close properly. If you get sand in their eyes, then they also won't close properly. If you get water on the torso, which is the stomach of the doll, it could ruin the stuffing inside of it and grow mold. So you never want to have an American Girl. You never want to bring them to the beach. The beach is like the worst thing. There's so many things that could go wrong at the beach, but don't put them in your pool. Don't bring them in the bathtub, because if you get them wet, it's really not that good. Now, if you're outside and it starts raining a little bit, it's not like the end of the world. Just protect their eyes and try to protect the torso as best as you can. So make sure the stuffing doesn't get wet. And also, if water gets in the eyes, it would be a disaster. Next, you don't want to leave your dolls sitting for a long period of time. So if they're on a shelf, if they're on display, or don't leave them in a sitting position too long, like at like a little table or something like that, because that can loosen their limbs, and then over time they won't be able to stand by themselves, or they won't be able to lift their arms and keep the arm up for very long or at all. So you need to make sure that they're not sitting, because it wears out their legs, like the joints of their leg, very, very quickly. So just don't leave them in a sitting position for very long. Make sure to do your research on how to style American Girl hair. Now, there is so many different hair types for American Girl. There's straight hair, there's curly hair, there's so many different types of curly hair. I'm gonna pull out some examples because each of them have like different techniques for how to take care of them. So here's 3 different examples of American Girl curly hair. So we have the curls like this, the long loose curls for dolls like Sage. This is Sage here, but Caroline is another example. Number 84 is another example. Some of the Just Like You dolls have this long curly hair, and this requires a spray bottle and a hairbrush. So you get it wet, then you brush it, and then you twirl it around your finger, and there's very specific ways that the curl needs to twist. That's how you take care of this hair. It's pretty easy and straightforward. Then you have curls like Claudie's curls, like Claudie and Cecile, those kind of dolls with the very, very curly hair. This one, personally, I just don't touch it. That's how it stays nice for me. But there is, you have to use a pencil if you wanted to clean it up. So you have to use a hair pick and a pencil and some water, and you would have to do a tutorial of that online. And I bet if you Googled any doll like Cecile, Claudie, whatever doll you have, you can probably find a tutorial on how to take care of their hair, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube for the specific doll hair. Then we have Yvette's hair. So this is curly here. Now this one is a pretty tricky one to take care of. So a lot of people are conflicted about how to take care of this. You do not want to brush this for sure. Personally, I don't leave it, but some people spray it with a little bit of water and then get the flyaway's hairs, just push it down. So it's all these hairs are curly, but they have very, very different ways of treating them. So make sure before you buy a doll, you Google how to take care of that doll's hair. The next tip I have is to never leave your American Girls outside. Now, if you're planning on taking photos of your doll, or if you want to play outside with your American Girl, that should be okay, but just don't leave them outside. Like I mentioned before, they have soft bodies, so if they get wet, then it's going to ruin the stuffing inside of them. Now, if it does get wet, you can take the stuffing out, dry the stuffing, but if it gets wet and you don't notice it, it could grow mold, and that could make you very, very sick. So don't leave your American Girls outside unattended, because it could rain, an animal could get a hold of it, somebody could, you know, steal the doll, like I mentioned before. So maybe like an Amazon delivery person, they might swipe your doll if you just leave it lying around outside. So there is more honest people than dishonest people in the world, but a lot of dishonest people exist. So you need to be aware of that with your American Girl, and make sure you always have an eye on your American Girl and never leave them unattended, because somebody could steal them, and that is not good. Next is never put a makeup on your American Girl doll. Now, I recently had to save an American Girl from the thrift store. Actually, she was a Maple Leaf doll, and somebody had given her a haircut and put human makeup on the doll. So some of the makeup they used was eyeshadow and mascara on the doll, and I've heard some people say that this is perfectly fine, but that is not true. Putting makeup on your doll will get makeup in their eye, which will cause it not to be able to close properly, similar to getting sand or water in the doll's eye. It can also stain your doll, so it could change the color of their face paint. Also, if you get it in your doll's hair, that could be not good for the hair. So never put like human makeup on a doll. I know some people are like, but it's so much fun. Don't do it. Well, first off, it doesn't look that good at all. And second of all, it could really damage your doll. So don't put human makeup on your doll. Next, don't cut your American Girl eyelashes. Now, I'm gonna explain this one. So if you're new to the American Girl community, you might not know what I'm talking about, but there is these things called American Girl stop motions. And one of the techniques they use in American Girl stop motions to make the dolls blink or to close their eyes is they will fold the eyelashes into the eye. And I'll show you how to do it. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the camera there. Eyelash into the doll's eye. So it can keep the eyes closed. Now, people, when they see this, are assuming that the eyelashes are cut, so they cut the doll's lashes because they want the iconic look from the American Girl stop motions. But as you can see, it's just the eyelashes being tucked into the doll. So you just put it back and it's back to normal. So don't cut your American Girl's eyelashes because you see those stop motions. It is just folded in and tucked in, so don't try to cut your American Girl's eyelashes. Next is never have markers, paint, pens anywhere near your American Girls. So it makes sense not to have like a pen in your hand or a marker in your hand while you're holding your American Girl, but I would suggest not even having them in the same room, because if you get it on the doll, it could seriously damage their vinyl. And getting pen on a doll, for example, it's not impossible to remove, but you have to use acne cream and in the sunlight for days to get rid of the pen, and it's not even a guarantee that the pen will come out. So putting marker and pen on the doll, even by accident, could ruin and damage their vinyl, and it is very, very hard to get off. Not impossible, but it is very, very difficult to remove that from a doll. So don't even have them in the same room. Same thing with paint, just don't have it in the same room. So don't have like a craft room and a doll room at the same time, which is what I have, but I'm very, very careful. Next is not to eat around your American Girl doll, because you can easily, if you're eating some very greasy food, can get grease on your doll, and then it could be impossible to remove from their face, and so you have shine marks on the doll. So that is another tip. If you're eating, just put your American Girl down or aside for a little bit and just wash your hands before touching them. I always wash my hands before I come into my doll room, and then that way I don't have any things on my hands before I start touching my dolls. That is it for the things that you should definitely not do to your American Girls, but I thought I would do an additional step to this, which is some preventative measures you can do in order to prevent some of these things from happening. And one of them is to put a carpet underneath your dollhouse or your doll shelf. That way, if your doll falls off the shelf or off the dollhouse, then they're not landing on the concrete or hardwood floor and scratch their nose, most likely. It will land on the carpet. It doesn't have to be like super soft or anything like that, just so they don't scratch their faces. Usually it's their nose, which tends to be the main victim, but just leave a little carpet in front of your doll shelf or in front of your dollhouse, wherever you're putting your dolls. Next is to have a doll spray bottle for your doll's hair. So even if you have a doll with straight hair, if you have a doll with curly hair, you definitely need a little spray bottle. So you can go to the dollar store and get a spray bottle, or sometimes spray bottles come with hair styling kits for 18-inch doll brands. So you need to have a spray bottle on hand with some water. That way it can be easier to take care of their hair. You don't have to use the spray bottle every time, but if there's a few flyaways, or if you just want it to continue being smooth, just spray a little bit of water on the hair and then brush it. So it's always good to have a spray bottle on hand. If you are bringing your dolls outside to take photos of, or if you're playing with your doll outside, make sure to bring a blanket with you. So just always bring a blanket with you. That way, if you're carrying the doll in a bag, just wrap the doll in the blanket so it doesn't get scratched, or lay the blanket on the ground so you can lay the doll on the ground so she's not lying on the ground with bugs and dirt and things like that. So just lay the blanket down, and then if you need to lay her down, just lay her on the blanket. And there was one other tip that I forgot to mention that I see a lot of people do, and I think there's a lot of misinformation about this technique, and that is using hair straighteners or hair curlers on American Girl dolls. You don't want to get American Girl hair wet, and I know some people who are advanced collectors and advanced customizers use hair straighteners to straighten doll hair. This is not a good idea, because it's very high risk to use heat on your American Girl's hair. You shouldn't use heat on your American Girl's hair, and even if you're really skilled, I personally wouldn't, because you can very easily burn the hair if you don't have enough water on the hair, and they're not designed to use curlers. If you want to curl your doll's hair like a doll like Samantha that has like a soft curl or something like that, or maybe even like Nanea or Mary Ellen, I would use some curlers either from the dollar store, or there's some like American Girl hair kits out there that have like soft foam rollers that you can spray with a little bit of water, leave the hair in the curlers overnight, and then you have these like nice bigger curls. So always do that instead of using a hair straightener or hair curler. because they're not designed to use heat products on the doll's hair, and it's very risky. And I've heard so many stories of people burning their American Girl doll hair because they were trying to do something they saw on YouTube for how to customize a doll. So just don't use hair straighteners or hair curlers. They just are not meant for American Girls. So that is it for my tips for what you should not do with your American Girl doll. If I forgot anything, make sure to leave that in the comment section below, because that would be really helpful for some new collectors who are getting into American Girl for the first time. So thank you so much for watching. If you want more tips for how to take care of your American Girl or more American Girl news and updates, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also make sure to follow my Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.